Delusion networks, understanding and addressing collective mass delusions. Introduction. Collective delusions are phenomena where groups of individuals come to share and reinforce beliefs that diverge substantially from objective reality. These beliefs, despite being unsubstantiated or irrational, can shape personal perceptions and influence societal actions on a massive scale. From ancient witch hunts to contemporary conspiracy theories, the impact of mass delusions permeates every layer of society. In today's interconnected world, understanding how delusion networks form, spread, and persist is more crucial than ever. This article explores a multidisciplinary approach incorporating neuroscience, media analysis, historical case studies, and cultural influences, before offering practical prevention strategies, therapeutic interventions, and policy recommendations to safeguard society from these pervasive distortions. 2. Historical case studies, patterns in mass delusion. The Salem witch trials, hysteria and confirmation bias. In 1692, the Salem witch trials revealed how societal hysteria and confirmation bias could transform suspicion into mass persecution. Fueled by religious fervor, community paranoia, and the desperate need to explain misfortune, the trials blossomed into a collective delusion. Innocent individuals were condemned based on flimsy evidence and self-reinforcing narratives, illustrating how group dynamics can override critical thought under pressure. Tulip mania and economic bubbles, the psychological mechanics of irrational financial decisions. The phenomenon of tulip mania in 17th century Holland is a prime example of mass delusion in the economic domain. As the demand for tulip bulbs skyrocketed, irrational exuberance drove prices to unsustainable heights, only to collapse dramatically. This case study exposes the profound interplay between psychological factors, such as herd behavior and the fear of missing out, and financial decision-making, culminating in collective irrationality that defies simple economic logic. UFO abduction waves, collective belief shaping perceived reality. From the mid-20th century onward, reports of UFO abductions and alien encounters have persisted as a modern collective delusion. Despite the lack of empirical evidence, cultural narratives fueled by science fiction, media portrayal, and societal curiosity have constructed a shared reality where extraordinary phenomena are accepted on faith. This phenomenon underscores how cultural symbols and media exposure can shape and solidify collective beliefs, even in the absence of verifiable proof. Political and cult movements, ideological entrapment through charismatic leadership. Political movements and cults provide perhaps the most potent illustrations of how ideology and charismatic leadership can engender delusional networks. History is replete with examples, from extremist political regimes to isolated cults, where leaders manipulate emotional and psychological vulnerabilities, crafting narratives that justify extraordinary actions. The power of these delusions often lies in their ability to create group identities that are impervious to dissent, ultimately leading to catastrophic outcomes on both individual and collective levels. 3. Neuroscience of collective delusion. Brain mechanisms behind belief formation. Modern neuroscience sheds light on the biological underpinnings of belief formation. The brain employs several cognitive shortcuts, like confirmation bias, to process information efficiently. Once an initial belief is formed, neural pathways are reinforced through repetition, making it increasingly resistant to contradictory evidence. This neuroplasticity means that beliefs, no matter how unfounded, can become deeply entrenched in the brain's circuitry. The psychology of group reinforcement and cognitive bias. Beyond individual cognition, the dynamics of group behavior play a critical role in reinforcing collective delusions. Mirror neurons and social conformity mechanisms encourage individuals to adopt the prevailing beliefs of their community. This phenomenon not only cements the group's shared reality, but also marginalizes dissenting voices, as the need for social cohesion often outweighs the pursuit of truth. How fear and uncertainty amplify false beliefs. Psychological states characterized by fear and uncertainty create fertile ground for delusions. When individuals face existential threats or societal upheavals, the brain's stress response can magnify cognitive biases and lead to an over-reliance on simplistic explanatory models. This heightened state of anxiety makes communities particularly vulnerable to mass delusions, as emotionally charged narratives provide comforting certainty in chaotic circumstances. 4. Media and misinformation, the digital age. Social media's role in spreading mass delusions. Social media has transformed the landscape of communication, making it easier than ever for delusional ideas to spread rapidly. Platforms designed to maximize engagement often inadvertently amplify sensationalist content. When misinformation is presented in compelling, emotionally charged formats, it can quickly snowball into a widely accepted narrative, regardless of its veracity. The algorithm effect, how echo chambers reinforce false narratives. Digital algorithms curate content in ways that reinforce pre-existing beliefs, creating echo chambers where dissenting viewpoints are filtered out. This leads to an environment where false narratives gain credibility simply because they dominate the discourse, further entrenching collective delusions and making them increasingly resistant to correction. Case studies in viral misinformation and conspiracy theories. Recent events, from conspiracy theories like QAnon to viral misinformation surrounding public health crises, demonstrate how quickly and effectively delusional narratives can permeate public consciousness. These case studies illustrate a pattern. Once a community is ensnared by a coherent, yet unfounded narrative, it becomes exponentially more challenging to dispel the falsehoods that fuel it. Cultural and religious influences. Tradition and belief systems as delusional reinforcers. Cultural and religious traditions often serve as the backbone of collective identity, and while they provide structure and meaning, they can also reinforce delusional frameworks. Long-standing narratives, rituals, and mythologies offer convenient explanations for complex phenomena, sometimes at the expense of critical inquiry. When these belief systems are uncritically transmitted across generations, they contribute to the persistence of collective delusions. Examples from mythology and religion reinforcing collective ideologies. Historical narratives, from divine retribution myths to the sanctification of certain social orders, illustrate how powerful myths and religious doctrines can shape collective behavior. These stories, embedded in cultural consciousness, often portray humanity as subject to forces far beyond its control. Such depictions not only justify existing power hierarchies, but also quiet skepticism, as the narratives become deeply intertwined with the cultural identity of communities. Psychological and sociological implications. The interplay between cultural tradition and collective delusions has profound implications for both individual psychology and broader social structures. Societies that suppress dissent in favor of unified narratives risk creating environments where critical thinking is sidelined. The ethical question arises. While traditions provide comfort and structure, at what cost do they maintain outdated or harmful belief systems? 6. Prevention strategies and therapeutic interventions. Grounding techniques for individuals caught in mass delusions. Preventing the entrenchment of delusional beliefs begins with fostering critical thinking and emotional resilience at an individual level. Therapeutic interventions, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, can help individuals recognize and challenge distorted patterns of thought. Grounding techniques, mindfulness, meditation, and fact-checking exercises empower individuals to step back and evaluate information more objectively. Policy recommendations for mitigating large-scale misinformation. At the societal level, policymakers have a vital role to play in curbing the spread of misinformation. This may involve regulatory measures that promote media literacy, encourage transparency in digital algorithms, and foster responsible journalism. By creating an environment where accurate information is readily available and misinformation is swiftly countered, societies can build a robust defense against the spread of delusional narratives. Ethical concerns: should mass delusions always be dismantled? Intervening in collective belief systems raises significant ethical dilemmas. Not every collective delusion is inherently harmful. In some cases, they serve as binders of cultural identity and social cohesion. The key challenge lies in discerning when a delusional network inflicts societal harm and when it is simply a facet of human cultural diversity. Ethical policymaking must balance the preservation of individual autonomy with the collective good. Long-term recovery from collective hysteria. Addressing the aftermath of widespread delusion involves more than immediate crisis management. Long-term recovery requires continuous efforts in psychological rehabilitation, community rebuilding, and the re-establishment of trust in public institutions. By investing in comprehensive education programs and community-based support networks, societies can gradually rebuild resilience and foster an environment where critical skepticism is valued. 7. Conclusion. The study of delusion networks reveals how collective delusions, whether sprouting from historical, neurological, or media-driven soil, shape our understanding of reality. In an era marked by rapid digital evolution, the power of misinformation is magnified, and the risk of societal manipulation grows ever more pronounced. However, by embracing a multidisciplinary approach that spans neuroscience, psychology, historical case studies, and cultural analysis, we can begin to unravel the mechanisms behind these dangerous narratives. Looking ahead, as artificial intelligence and deepfakes introduce new dimensions of information distortion, building societal resilience becomes paramount. By promoting media literacy, encouraging robust public discourse, and implementing thoughtful policy interventions, communities can safeguard against the insidious spread of collective delusions. Ultimately, the challenge lies not only in recognizing these delusions, but in constructing a future where truth and critical inquiry prevail against the tide of systemic misinformation.